Today, it's Paul and Beige, but where's Heather? Oh no, behind you! This is ChillPoint.
Yeah, the new ginger beer. Or not the new ginger beer. Canada's making ginger beer for a while, but they were making it in bottles and stuff, and it was one of their premium product type situations. I mean, it was like not always available and not always in every place, but now they start putting it in mini cans. So Heather came home with a six pack of ginger beer, which has got me drinking ginger beer again. So that's fun. Do you want to try some?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't care if you sip out of the can, but if you want to have it out of the mug, feel free.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was some real ginger.
And on the back end, it has a good kick. So now if we both get sick, now we'll know why.
100% not sponsored by Canada Dry.
Mm-hmm.
Also not Canadian.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But anyway, hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to ChillPoint. That said, we'd be interested in a ginger beer sponsor.
Oh, absolutely. I would be, yeah. I mean, and this is proudly bottled in Canada. It's just doesn't belong to Canada anymore. It's not our thing. But it's the world's thing more than anything else. 88% of all ginger ale in the world is Canada Dry.
Really?
Yeah, I watched a video on what's the canonical ginger ale, and this guy did a whole breakdown on Canada Dry and Schweppes and Seagram's, and there's like a fourth one, and they did not mention Wilkinson's at all, which I was very surprised about. But at the end of that, he was like, and it turns out that 88% of all ginger ale in the world is Canada Dry. It just is. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's what people think of when they think of ginger ale. So.
And does that mean that that's what they think of, like if that Canada equals ginger ale connection?
I literally have a manga page on my phone of it was a gag manga, and it featured a giant ginger monster. And you're like, well, ginger's a thing that they have in Asia an awful lot of, right? The ginger monster was wearing a T-shirt with a maple leaf on it and a big G in the middle of the maple leaf. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
I mean, it's weird. Like, I don't consider ginger to be a particularly Canadian thing, but apparently it is. Yeah. Wow. All right, cool.
You grow it out near Kamloops, I think.
It's always fun to learn things about your own country, like about how your own country is perceived. Yeah. That you don't necessarily know. I say that I remember as a kid being totally blown away by the lumberjack sketch in Monty Python, that these amazing sketch comedy guys from England name check not only Canada but British Columbia. And I was just like, what?
Also, and they mention it's like the mighty Scots pine. I'm like, I think you'll find that those trees are probably not native to BC.
But just the idea that the idea that British Columbia sort of looms, or has this sort of had this kind of romantic mythological image in the mind of the British public.
Yeah,
I find very good.
They must have got a copy of the Log Driver's Waltz at some point, and it might have just sunk into their brain like it sunk into ours.
Oh, is my mic?
Oh,
you say my mic is quiet?
You're quite ducked.
Oh, perhaps. I may have to go adjust that. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I can keep it. You want me to talk into your mic so you get a chance to when you're in the other room?
Yeah, let's check that.
Let's get our levels right. Cool. They actually at one point, Monty Python, in a sketch where they're showing, I think it's the dude who's getting like rhinoplasty. He has like a giant nose. They have like a thing, the nameplate on the person's desk goes off the end of their desk and it does 290-degree turns. And at one point, they actually name check Medicine Hat on that. And I'm like, the only reason they did this is because it's a funny name. But the fact that they picked that is like all places in Canada except Medicine Hat. And I'm like, okay, you could have used Moose Jaw for that if you wanted to. All right, so now if I'm Paul and I'm on here, I don't know if it'll be any different or not, but I am talking at the same volume. Yeah, that was a big moment for me to be like, oh my God, these guys know what Medicine Hat is. So that, anyway. Okay, I think we got it. Oops. Gotta get off. Can't be running over the cables.
Sounds fine to me.
I'm glad. I hope they enjoyed that too.
Anyway.
Excuse me. Release.
Yeah, I don't know. I listened to you on the board. It sounded like both mics were about the same.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know why I was quiet. Maybe that was
one less microphone in the room.
I don't know. Anyway. Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, a show where we talk about the week's video game news.
So catch up with you, right?
Yeah. Talk about the week's video game burp.
Great.
As well as the episode of ChillPoint that went up yesterday. So let's start with some of the ChillPoint things. Starting with this Nintendo EULA update.
Yeah.
EULA update.
Yeah.
For one thing, yes, it is true that there's a character in Genshin Impact called EULA.
Yeah.
To the extent that, like, basically because Genshin Impact is so popular.
Yes.
If you type EULA into a search now, you don't get stuff about end user license agreements.
So we have
you have to actually search for end user license agreement to actually get the proper things.
Do we call that namespace collision?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Namespace, yeah, poisoning. I don't know.
God.
Presumably you have to sign a EULA to play as EULA.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway. But yeah, so Nintendo did this update and which is obviously raising some serious eyebrows.
Yes.
The thing that I thought was most like not like really is the whole like basically and I don't know, maybe this isn't a new thing, but it seemed like the new thing was this sort of redefining
a video game.
Yeah, redefining your relationship with the sort of console. And to the extent where that a video game is no longer like for the purposes of the EULA, they define they keep talking about Nintendo account services.
Yes.
And a video game is a Nintendo account service.
Yeah.
And so but like it's in this list of like, you know, online content and the eShop,
yes,
video games, this other thing. And it's just like one of those things is not like the other.
And so there, yeah, the funny thing, so what this is essentially is them saying that one of the rules also is that the reason why this is so important is because if you contravene Nintendo account services and and they're like, you're in contravention of this end user license agreement, therefore we can just unilaterally brick your console. Like we can say your console's no longer usable because of this reason, in whole or in part. And that could mean that the whole console's unusable, or you having an account on this console's unusable, so anybody else with an account could continue to play on this console. I don't think that would be how they would split hairs, but that could be another way to look at it.
And previously, they've certainly done things with, you know, banning people from the Nintendo online services.
Yes.
But you could still play offline.
Yeah.
But the idea that it's actually going to brick your console completely.
Yes. And I haven't read it, but Paul has pulled it up. And the thing that gets me about it when I look at it, or the pieces that I had read out and to kind of gain understanding, which is not full, is that to me it sounded like, oh, you just did what every other video game company has kind of done is straight up said, if we decide we want to keep you from doing stuff here anymore, we can just unilaterally do that. And I'm like, I wonder if Nintendo had already done that, but in a narrower scope, and now they're just broadening it out, and whether how broad they've made it is actually now even broader than what other companies do as well. That it takes some more analysis, and I'm not going to sit down and read 6 U-lists to figure out how it compares to the Xbox and Steam and the Epic Games Store and Sony PlayStation. But
yeah, it just I just wanted to. I love the definitions part of the document. A Nintendo account services means the services, applications, software, content, and data we make available to you through your Nintendo account, including, for example, Nintendo Switch parental controls and add-on content, video games, as well as other Nintendo products. It's like parental controls, video games. These things are not the same.
Yeah, in fact, video games should have come first, because it's like that's the most important part of interacting with your video game console that plays video games, is playing the video game. I wonder if this is like also what they're meaning is like, oh, it's video games that interact with your Nintendo account as opposed to video games that would not interact with your Nintendo account. That's splitting hairs again, but
now, yeah, I did. People were talking about this a little bit on the Discord, and with all the I am nobody's a lawyer or whatever.
Yeah,
what this actually means, but in my experience, covering various times when companies have changed and use license agreements or utilize them and stuff, by and large, these things don't actually have that much impact, because so it's like, one, they are almost never actually enforced. Two, a lot of the time, what is actually in the EULA is sort of wishful thinking on the part of the company or the lawyers of the company, and it can't be enforced in certain. A lot of people have said that, like, especially like say in the EU where consumer protections tend to be a lot more stringent, some of the stuff here would definitely run into some problems.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's necessarily concern that it's like, because of this change, Nintendo is going to be able to do all this stuff that they couldn't do before.
Yes.
This is more, the reason why companies do stuff like this is more that it's like, if we're going after somebody, we want to take down a website that's, providing game downloads, or we want to take down an emulator, or we want to take down, ban somebody off the service or do something. This gives us like another tool in our legal tool belt.
Yeah.
So that now we're charging them with this, and this.
Yeah.
And so it's just like gives them a more, a stronger legal footing.
Yeah.
For something that they were going to do already.
Yes.
As opposed to this being actually the instigation of something.
Yeah. It's
that, like I said, not a lawyer, but that's my impression of how these systems are usually used.
And I have I have had and played Nintendo games that have been available with an online, through being on like a Nintendo console on the internet. I have played many Nintendo consoles that have had access to the internet for quite some time.
Right.
And through that entire time, as these EULAs have been changing and morphing and doing whatever, never have I run afoul of any of this, because I'm largely just play single player games. But it's like I've never been caught up in a dragnet of you're doing something wrong and this is a bad thing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I even hacked my Wii, right? Like but if I hacked my launch Switch, could I run into trouble? Probably. And would that have a problem with my account? Probably. So I'll probably make a burner account to do stuff on it with if I wanted to. And I'm like, if you're not going outside the realm of the agreement, you'll never get caught. I'm not saying don't do that, obviously, or do that or whatever, but it's like when you work within what the rules are in a situation like this, nothing bad happens to you because they're not looking for you. It's that when you start to poke your head up and outside the circle of the agreement, that then it's like, aha, and then then all the bricks come down on you at the same time, and it's awful.
Yeah, and there's definitely an aspect of the sort of selective enforcement, right? Yeah. Where if you're doing something that Nintendo doesn't like but is technically allowed, they might be able to, they might try to get you on another thing.
Exactly, yeah. And that sucks as well, because that's just like, oh, well, I'm trying to do a thing that is, I am allowed to do this. Like, you guys can't stop me from doing X. And they're like, right, but we're going to stop you from being involved with our products by doing Y. And that's where we get all the articles from, where people get pissed off about, because it's like, he wasn't doing anything wrong. And it's like, you're right, he wasn't doing anything wrong by the grander cognizant, like the zeitgeist, we're all like, we don't think there's anything wrong, that 90% of us, with this person doing X thing, and therefore we all get mad at the company, rightfully, for that kind of situation.
So anyway,
yeah,
I obviously, obviously this sucks. I'm afraid this is definitely one of those things, like I see people being like, I'm gonna throw in my Switch, or I can't trust Nintendo anymore, all this kind of stuff. And it's, it feels sort of defeatist, but
yeah,
I don't think you're going to get a better offer with the other companies.
Yeah.
I think
it's all bad everywhere.
I think this is sort of where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But it also feels like, I mean, at least like with the EU putting up more robust consumer protections, it's like that is a way by which that a consumer gets to raise their hand in protest.
Right.
That it's like, you can go to Sony headquarters with 1,000 people and you can all chant about how something is awful and terrible and whatever. But as we have learned, is that anybody with enough money insulating them is not going to give a shit about what you think about bad things happening with their consumer product. What you need laws. And so you need to, raise your hand in protest, and you need to vote in the people that need to do the thing, or run to be one of the people who puts in the laws that are better for people. And you need to be that person who gets hired by the company, and they come in and they fix the one bug in the code, and then they hand in their notice after they fix the one bug in the code that's been bugging them for 3 years. You need to be that person. You need to be like, I'm only here to fix this one thing, and when I get voted in, I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to resign next year and let somebody else come in and fix their one thing that's been bugging them for years.
So anyway, we'll see how this pans out. Again, like a lot of people were saying, I would guess if there's going to be a challenge to this, it would be in the EU or in other countries. Unfortunately, and I'm not just sadly, this is not just a America thing. Mm-hmm. Canada's
always caught up in this.
Canada's sort of copyright protection and corporation intellectual property protection is as, if not more stringent than the United States, actually, in a lot of ways.
I feel like, and always for the benefit of the corporation that's never going to die. But I mean, we only see what it says in English. It could be that in other countries, in places that we haven't got the copy of their EULA for, it could be that, the EULAs are different. In the EU, it's like the EULA is different than the one that has been posted here. And we don't know. We just know what we saw. And
EULA?
The EULA. Which is that thing at the back of your throat, right? Yeah, okay.
Anyway. So, I mean, we'll see how things pan out for this. I'll be interested to see if there's going to be more info come out about it. Mm-hmm. Fighting games.
Yeah. Bit of controversy.
Sometimes people fight in the game, and sometimes people fight outside the game.
Yeah.
But still about fighting games. There's a couple of different stories that Graham kind of put together here, starting with about all kind of coming out of Evo Japan, which somebody mentioned in the comments, saying that it's good to say that this is Evo Japan, and the graphic we put on the screen was Evo Japan, but I don't know if it was in the story because it's Evo in Las Vegas is the sort of main larger event.
Oh, okay.
The one in Japan is a smaller event.
Still no less important, I'm sure, because there's a ton of people in the fighting game community from Japan.
I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think from what I understand, it's the reason why it's a smaller thing because of rules in Japan around giving money for
tournaments
and competitions and stuff.
Fair.
Anyway, but Evo Japan was happening, and apparently they had some real problems with the PS5's overheating. It, in particular, the one that got shown off was, or the one that seemed to be particularly relevant was Guilty Gear Strive Finals.
Great.
There were some, and apparently the way that this overheating manifests itself, at least in Guilty Gear Strive, is it's sort of a known problem. And there's a video of it where the players will be fighting, and then one guy will just start backing up.
Oh,
and you can hear the announcers being like, "Oh no, he's just backing up." Because it's like
PS5's like, I need to slow this down. I need to take some fucking control so I can rest for a second.
So whether it's like the controller inputs get messed up or something, whatever the case, apparently it's like a known thing that one guy will get stuck backing up.
Oh, that's funny.
And then it'll sort of kick back in and stuff. And obviously when you're dealing with playing a fighting game at a very high level, even
positioning matters.
And when you're playing at a level where frame perfect stuff matters, having sometimes weird control things happen completely screws the whole thing.
Yeah.
To the extent that one of the winners of the Evo thing saying that if they don't have a solution to this for next thing, he's not going to go.
Right.
He's like, this is not acceptable.
Well, because it's too much of a chance to take that you're the one who gets fucked over by it.
Right.
Exactly.
And even if you win,
it's
like, well, did you win because the console? He's like, either they have to either PS5s have to work better, or they have to like be swapping them out over the course of the day more, or whatever the case. Whatever they have to do to make it work. Have big friggin' fans on the PS5.
Just they come in with a chest freezer and they just have that thing turned on, and there's a PS5 on the inside. They just have the cables running outside for power, and it's like, okay,
I remember
we're not gonna have a problem.
For a while, when I didn't have a TV, before I had a TV at home, I would just be like, I had a thing for my monitor, CRT monitor, for my computer, that it was like a VGA adapter for it to plug into
like a cable box,
or to plug into like the
console.
PS. It was PlayStation 1, I think, at the time.
Like a long time
Cables,
ago. Yeah.
But it ran it at a frequency that my monitor was like not super happy with, because it was like a television frequency as opposed to a monitor frequency.
Right.
And so it would like go for a while, and then it would like blink, like it would blink out.
Right.
And I realized that I had like a little teeny desk fan, and I pointed that into the side, and it was fine.
Great.
In hindsight, that was probably an indication that like something worse was happening that I probably should have looked into.
But it's not like you have a lot of money to fix those things or whatever.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, you get set up the PS5 and get a couple little desk fans on either side, blowing into it. It'll probably be fine.
I had that. When I had a projector in my house for a long time, there was a point by which it was like, projector's working great, and you can hear the fans are running and everything else, and that's cool. And then after but at a certain point, it'd be like after about a couple hours or 3 hours of watching something, it's like all of a sudden the bulb just goes poo, and it just dims. And this is the old style ones they were like long, and they had like easily replaceable bulb that was only like $10 or $15, like not the $300 bulb situation. But the bulbs only last about 40 or 50 hours. Right. So you get like, you get a couple movie nights. You get like a month or two worth of movie nights, then you have to swap to new bulb. That's fine. So, though at one point the bulb would go off and then it would come back on, and it'd be fine for about another 10 minutes, and it would go off again and would come back on. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the cooling. Like the fans are not a problem and everything else is not a problem. It just literally can't get enough air in to cool it down fast enough because the fan is like an older fan. So I'm like, well, and I grabbed all the fans I had and was like, okay, let's try to see. And finally I found a fan that was perfect, and I got it set up and turned it on fast. And I'm like, and now I got to turn the volume up so I can hear the thing. So yeah, I remember doing a lot of that dancing with fans and cooling shit down and stuff back in the day when technology was not as good.
I actually just saw a video on Linus Tech Tips where they literally took like a, Honeywell style, like,
portable air conditioner,
portable AC.
Yeah,
ducked it directly into a computer case.
Oh yeah,
and we're like, does this work? Does this work? And it actually worked quite well, except it gets too cold. So you start getting condensation.
Right. Yeah.
Before that was a problem. It was like, hey, this is actually like doing a really good job, and it's not even that loud.
Yeah, compared to like really high like fans and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Anyway, the other part of this news, because Evo obviously is a chance where a lot of these fighting game places, a lot of the companies are announcing things because it's an obvious venue for that. Bandai Namco announced the new character that they're going to bring out with the new update, who Fakum Ram.
Yeah.
Fakum Ram. And apparently he's not popular.
Is that right?
Yeah. I was gonna play. I've got this great video.
Yeah.
I was gonna maybe, I don't know if all of it, but so this is the intro video.
Holy shit, ancient ogre. It's a Fakum Ram. I don't want Fakum. What the fuck is that?
This is just a compilation of people being disappointed of Fakum Ram.
Who cares? I give zero fucks about this. Oh my god.
All right, and so the next guy.
These guys trying to.
I mean, look, I know a lot of people was actually saying, at least it wasn't Kunimitsu. God, this is the worst cope of my life.
The announcer's trying to
make it seem like a good deal, yeah.
But just series of, this is just, people live streaming the announcement trailer. I love this guy.
Oh.
He just kind of freezes.
I've heard terrible things about this character. I have heard terrible things about this character.
So it's somebody who hasn't even played the game or played this character before.
He dropped in and he's back.
All right, one more.
They are very skilled at pissing people off. Hold on. No! No! You're tripping! Oh no! No! You are kidding me!
Anyway.
I love stuff like this where I don't give a shit about any of this.
Yeah. Couple guys in there apparently streaming from their hotel room. Just silent.
I'm leaving. I'm done. Holy shit. God, that's funny. Well, sorry guys.
I want to be clear. Not laughing at your pain.
No.
Laughing at how unpopular this character apparently is, and laughing more at Bandai Namco than at these individual streamers.
It's there have to be people out there who like this idea, clearly, not just like the guys who are getting paid to be the announcers and talk about whatever. But I wonder if there are people out there who like, oh, I'm totally into this idea, and it's like we don't see any of that yet. So I wonder if someone will make a compilation.
Apparently, the deal is that he was first introduced in Tekken 7.
Yeah.
And he was super unbalanced.
Right.
Like he was sort of overpowered and not and messed up the meta.
Okay.
And then they like kept trying to rebalance him, and they never. And basically, over the course of Tekken 7, apparently they just like never got it right.
Oh, okay.
And
which
then
makes them hard to play because you never know what the
And Tekken 8 is already one of the issues that they're dealing with, at least from the perspective of their fan base, is serious balance issues. And so people were like, and that's the guy that you're bringing in?
Emblematic of all the times you've had balance issues. It's kind of like, I guess, Akuma in Street Fighter, when that was like, when you could actually get Akuma as a playable character. That because I
think he's in the current. I think they brought him back in the current one.
And my understanding is like, it's like when, I remember when you could play in either Championship Edition or in Street Fighter 2 Turbo, wherever like the 4 boss characters showed up for the first time, right? When you could play as like M. Bison, as Vega.
I mean, it's always that thing where it's like, canonically, this guy is supposed to be more powerful than everybody else.
So clearly,
how do we represent that without messing up the game?
Yeah, and it's like, so people would pick that person. And it's like, oh, you're incredibly powerful and whatnot. It was Championship Edition. Thank you, Getter 404. Been around for a very long time that I forget these important details. So it kind of feels like, when Akuma shows up in Super Street Fighter 2, or was it Street Fighter Alpha, wherever he shows up for the first time. Then it's like, oh, this guy's like boss character, really exciting, really powerful. I want to fight him too. And then it's like, oh, you can actually select him in the game, in like whatever game he came out in, where he was like a hidden thing, or you get Brown Ryu instead. And it was just like, wow, okay, shit, that's.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the current state of is, but I remember reading a thing talking about that, like in the history of like fighting game tournaments.
Yeah.
Every edition of Street Fighter that has Akuma in it, Akuma gets immediately banned in competition.
Yeah, I bet. Absolutely. I was reading a manga called High Score Girl. It's actually the sequel to it, High Score Girl Dash, which takes place years after the first one. And they actually have a fighting tournament where this one girl is going to come to the fighting tournament, and she's been practicing for ages to actually activate Akuma, and that's who she wants to play as. And she's not really great at playing the game, but she's learning stuff. But every time she tries to do it, she ends up with selecting Brown Ryu, because if you do the thing that you do and you end up on Ryu and you hit the button, it just changes his clothing, changes his whole color palette. And she gets really upset about this. And finally somebody says, you're spending all this time trying to select Akuma and you can't do it. Why don't you just learn how to play as Brown Ryu? Like, that's clearly who you're picking. That's who your heart wants, is you're picking him. You should learn to play well. Ryu's there. He's there for you every time. You should learn to play as him because your heart wants him. That's why you can't get the sequence right.
I love what a like incredibly like niche specific thing this is in a manga or an anime?
Manga. It's a manga specifically about the fighting game community in the mid 90s and 2000s. It's so good. It's so good.
And then finally, apparently there's been a big push, or there's been a big excitement for getting the Waffle House.
Yes.
As a venue, or as a level in Tekken 8. After, for various reasons, there are quite a few videos of people fighting in a Waffle House. I mean, Waffle House's whole thing about being open all the time. Sometimes there's high tension situations in which Waffle House is open, but there's also an amazing video of somebody throwing the chair at a cashier.
Yeah.
Throwing a chair at a cashier, and she grabs it and redirects it in an extremely smooth, very impressive way.
Like she's done it all her life. It was so good. Yeah, she got fired for that.
Yeah,
That's
Perry
right.
Perry girl. She got fired for that?
Yeah. She didn't escalate the fight, it didn't look like, but she was like, anyway.
Fired for not being hit by a chair?
I guess. As I remember how this worked out, because it's Harada, I think, is the guy who they talked to, because he's the guy in charge of Tekken, that originally people from the US, like all of a sudden a bunch of people started like messaging Harada and being like, can you please include a Waffle House arena? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Because why wouldn't you, right? That'd be like somebody contacting me and being like, can you include this thing about Caesarea? And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what a Caesarea is. But somebody sent him videos because he looked it up. He looked up pictures. He's like, I see what this is, but I don't get why. And then they sent him videos. He's like, oh.
Because I saw like stuff on Twitter or whatever of him like responding to that video, being like, that was a sweet move or something like that.
Yeah, I get it now. Okay. You know what? I will try. I would love to do that. Because I think that's understanding a really good joke. Yeah. It's like, there's a lot of fights that happen in Waffle Houses.
And so then the idea, it's the idea that he has apparently attempted to reach out to Waffle House through several different avenues and been completely stonewalled.
Yeah. Like not even being like, we're not interested, just being like, no response.
Yeah. Like, Tekken, I mean, sure, it's a different, it's a very, very different community.
Yeah.
But like Tekken is not a small franchise.
Yeah.
You'd think Waffle House would be at least a little bit interested. Or at least interested enough to give a real response.
Like I know there's like a whole thing of it's like, well, we don't want people to associate our business with violence. Like I wouldn't want people to be like, well, can you put like the moon base in a fighting game?
I mean, it might encourage people to fight in Waffle Houses.
That's the thing, right? It's
which
like,
I could get. I understand that.
Because it's like people don't visit the moon base, so if the moon base went into a fighting game, I guess I'd be fine with it. But I put it in Doom, but it's weird, run around the moon base and shoot all of us, I guess. Like, that's awful. But the idea of a stand-in for Waffle House, which is now what he's proposing, I love that idea. And I hope what they do is not just do that, but they do, like, alternate outfits of like, Waffle House uniform-looking kind of things. And
right.
And, like, because I'm thinking, like, also, Waffle Houses stay open in the United States.
Right.
Through disasters. So you could have like thunderstorms and hurricanes and shit and it would still be open. Fucking rum comes down.
Yeah. Level, that's like a big thing these days, right?
Yeah.
You have like atmosphere, you have like effects. You can be like smashed through a window and you're in a different part. It could be very cool.
It'd be very cool.
Are there any other fighting games with restaurants in them as levels?
Oh, that's a good question. Because Street Fighter 2 has like the onsen. Do they fight? I think Vega's level, Balrog Vega, that I think his is like a club.
A chain link fence or something.
You're right. It's got it's a club, but it's got a chain link fence. But I don't think it's a restaurant. But like an actual you could fight at Jam's restaurant.
In the Guilty Gear games. Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, you can have environmental things, You could, if you're lucky, you could like back up and like grab a stack of waffles. Gives you an HP bonus.
Pick up the chair.
My favorite thing could be in any fighting game that Graham and I were playing the Mortal Kombat. I think it was just Mortal Kombat, the like remake or reboot on GPLP, like way back in the day when we were streaming. And when we figured out that there's people in like the background of scenes, and in certain circumstances you can just grab somebody from the background and hit your opponent with them. That was all that we wanted to do.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, Waffle House turning down Tekken is one thing, but I'm like, come on, like, Mortal Kombat is Midway, right? Like, it's American. It's American all the way. Why didn't they think of doing Waffle House first, right?
Anyway, limited run games.
Oh Jesus, right?
Has had to have got themselves all in a tizzy. Well, they've got themselves all kind of tangled up in this thing about game key cards, and it, obviously there's already a lot of people being annoyed about the whole game key card concept.
Yes,
but limited run games as a company that makes high quality physical releases of games. That's literally what they make.
Yeah.
Their slogan is
forever physical.
Forever physical. They have their mission statement is, we don't think your game should be just
a page in a digital storefront.
A page in a database. Yeah. You should have it physically. Like, it wouldn't be such a big deal if it was so against their ethos.
Yes. Yeah, that's the frustrating thing.
And somebody was saying that it's actually like they've been doing Steam codes apparently for a while.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know that, but it's frustrating, especially because it is actually like it's so. Anyway, and then so they had to, they're like, no. The numbered limited run games, the ones that, which I guess are the ones that they actually have producer control over, will definitely have the full thing. But the ones that we're doing for other people were limited by what the manufacturer wants.
And to me, I'm like, then you should have done a spin-off brand. Like, that's what I feel like that should be the thing there, is to be very clear that it's, and not even like powered by limited run games. Like, it should be like, you should have a spin-off brand that your whole thing is to say, we're very good. We have all the connections and we're very good at making accessory kits for your games. I mean, because when it comes down to it, a collector's edition is just a really fancy accessory kit. It's just a bunch of fan stuff, and I like, shit, you should see my house, the amount of fan stuff I have. And I feel like, the doing this thing of, we have two collections and letting people know that it's two different things. I'm like, you really should just come up with either a white label concept or something else to say, we can help you design your own version of this.
Right. And limited run games, and then limited fun games.
Which I did not pick for my lower third. But it I mean, it really is like I'm sure there's a whole ton of gaming related, like, loot chest and game whatever, right. And all that kind of crap, game bag, and like, there's all sorts of names you could come up with to kind of make it make sense as to, like, this is what you're buying is essentially a thing that goes along with the game.
Sack.
Yeah, and it's Game Sack is a real site, I think. That's weird also, I know, because the PS5 version and the Xbox version apparently are not, like, it does not say on the page that, if you're using the PS5 version or the Xbox version, it is not a full version of the game. It only says that the Steam one's a digital code. It only says the Switch 2 version is a game key card. And I'm like, right, so the other two versions are fully physical. They are fully physical, forever physical, because they clearly don't say this is a disc that only has half the content on it. So when it comes to just these, like, now the Switch has this ability to do this, and PS5 isn't publishing it's a game key disc. Like, they haven't done that shit yet.
I mean,
it has happened.
I was going to say, you could argue that they're just not telling people about it.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I mean, there's a lot of PS5 games that don't run without a internet connection, because the thing on the disc no longer either never was or now isn't functional as a game.
Right.
It needs to update itself before it can do anything.
And so there's I really feel like the posture of, it's all limited run, but then losing the track of that. I didn't say my solution is do this. It was basically just to kind of excoriate them for making accessory kits. And And I feel like they should just say, we're going to have a completely new white labeled thing that is different, that has a different brand name attached to it. Kind of like when you watch stuff that we make and it's like, well, Bionictar's Media has made stuff for other people white labeled and whatnot, but we also make, like Loading Ready Run makes their stuff. And it's like, it's okay to have that going on and you can still make money off of that because literally like this is important. Like the companies like right now do need business and do need to make stuff. And
right.
Yeah.
It is always funny. Like obviously limited run games, they aren't the first people to have like made a collector's, this has happened way before.
Yeah.
And it always sort of blows my mind, when they do this, because not even like AAA titles that aren't going through the limited run or going through another publisher will put out like a collector's edition of a game that'll have the statuette and the steelbook and the all the different fancy the art books and all the things.
Yeah.
And then a code for the game. And it's like there's a steelbook thing in like there's a special case and you still put a code in. It's like that can't be. It's like that's got to be like the cheapest part of that's just the disc, right? Like that can't be more expensive than all the other piles of crap that you're including in this.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe it's just like they don't have the infrastructure for distributing the game is like messed up.
We've made Blu-rays, Paul. Like we have done that now. I know what that process is like. And I'm like, yeah, it's cheap overall when you want to produce a lot of them because you already did the work once. You can make 1,000 of them if you want to. Like,
I feel like making a data disc versus making one that actually plays in a Blu-ray player is like a different
might be a little different too. Yeah.
Anyway. And then finally, Cameron did a whole thing about the this Square Enix document, which now, to be fair, I feel like isn't necessarily like, I mean, it's explicitly not sort of news in the sense that it's like a bunch of Square Enix is sort of announcing a bunch of things.
Yes.
And then if you kind of run it through, you'd be like, okay, this is a 25-page PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
If you go through all of it and be like, okay, so what if I was, say, the manager, if I was a couple rungs down the totem pole, to mix a metaphor, the ladder, and I was
trying to obfuscate my job.
No. And I was trying to, and this is the directive that came down from on high, right? Like if this was like, this is what we're going to do. And my boss goes, okay, this is what you're doing now. And I look at this, I'd be like, so the new plan is to publish games that people like? What? Wasn't that our plan before?
Yeah.
Like when you sort of take away all the business speak, it kind of ends up being like make games that people like and focus on the ones that people like.
Yeah.
Also, I do love I mean, I don't think it even made it into the summary that Cam did, but they had a thing that like they're explicitly going to be orienting towards quality over quantity.
Yes.
Which opens up the can of like, what? Were we a quantity based system before? Is that what we were doing?
Did you ever at any point in any business plan actually write the words, okay, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be quantity over quality.
Yeah.
If you didn't write that?
We're just going to shotgun this thing.
Yes.
We're just going to put out as many games as fast as possible.
We're going to flood the zone with shit.
We do not care.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. It's one of those sort of frustrating, and then the sort of one of the big ramifications of this is they talked about that they're canceling the Kingdom Hearts Missing Link.
Yeah, it's a mobile game.
The headlines write themselves. Which they'd already they've done a bunch of closed betas for it. Like it was very far into production. They've said that don't worry, that doesn't mean Kingdom Hearts 4 is in trouble.
Yeah,
they're still working on that. Although they have been working on that for a long time. And also, like with this, at the same time as they announced that they're canceling Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, and they're like, we're going to do quality over quantity.
Yeah.
They also announced like 3 other games.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And actually, I looked it up for the purposes of just sort of looking up in reference to the story.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, we're going to try for quality over quantity, says company that makes Final Fantasy, a game with, I think, over 100 titles, if you count all the various spin-offs and
remakes,
spin-offs, and associated video games.
Yeah.
Probably close to, if not over 100 different titles.
Which is funny because I'm like, the only series, like video game IP I can think of that approaches that is Mario. That's the only thing I can think of where I'm like, the number of Mario games that, even including the sports games and like Mario Picross and like all that kind of stuff, I'm like, that's about the only other thing I can think of that really has that kind of like the largesse of IP, where, so not a big deal, but it's just like, you're in rarefied company if you're like, yeah, we're making this many Final Fantasy games and spin-offs and those other kind of things.
15 mainline titles.
Yeah.
2 of those are MMOs.
Yes. The thing about that too, the one thing is that I just really like the meter of medium term business plan. I like that a lot, but I like the reverb that Heather did on there too. It was really great that she could get that in, because Cam delivered it so well so there could be reverb, and it was just like everything lined up. There's over 180 Final Fantasy games. Holy crap. Thank you, Maricat. That's nuts. But the second thing about it that gets me is, so I was telling you this yesterday. When I was in university, and I have a business degree, and it's in management information systems, but it is a marketing minor. So I did a fair number of, courses that were involved in that area. I had to take a number of like high level, like 400 level courses to graduate with that marketing minor, I believe. I took 2 courses that were very important. One was Business Law 301. That was an intro to business law, taught by an actual lawyer who was doing business at that time. And then I also took Selling and Sales Management, taught by a guy who was running he ran an organization for he was a prof, but he also ran an organization like a think tank out of the university that was for selling and marketing and that kind of stuff too. And in the business law class, the lawyer said, "Hey, I'm going to teach you guys about contracts and contract terms and laws and like what a tort is and like all that kind of stuff. But I'm also going to impress upon you the importance of plain language in communication, because when you're writing a contract, if the other party can't understand it, that's not good, because it means that you actually didn't figure out what you want the contract to represent. You guys should be thinking about, what do you want and what does the other person want? And now what does the agreement look like? How we make sense of that? And the best way to do that a lot of times is through plain language. There are a couple places where you can pretty that up a little bit, but for the most part, you write a plain language contract, both sides will be happy." And then, so I was like, that's good. And then my selling and sales management prof, I wrote an essay at the end of the year that he handed back to me with no mark on it. And he's like, "See me after class." And he said, "You need to write, this is my final essay. He's like, you need to redo this because this doesn't make any sense." And it was about selling myself. And I'm like, well, I mean, I thought that I got it, like everything in there is something that I wrote because I felt like it belonged there. And then he turned to a random page. He read off a sentence. It didn't mean anything. And I was like, "I'll be back." And I took it, and he's like, "Just fix it and come back and do whatever." And I came back with like a very different thing, but it was like bullet points and shorter sentences, and everything that I had in there was not like fluff to pad out the thing. It was to actually sell myself properly. And he marked that he had to deduct 20%. So I got 80% on it, which was really good. But I aced it because he's like, you understood then at this point. The whole point was to relate yourself in plain language in a means that you can communicate everything that you're trying to say. And so much C-level, like organizational strategic bullshit from so many companies is like what we see in this PowerPoint, where it's like, it's a lot of fluff, and all you have to say is, we need to make better games, we need to make fewer games, we're going to concentrate on broadening our foundation to be able to produce better games, which means we need to, we need to invest more money or invest more people into these specific areas. And it's like, none of that's in there.
It's, because I mean, yeah, it's that thing of like, I mean, Cameron says it in the thing talking about the...
in the first sentences, rather, but yeah.
He's talking about business English or management English as opposed to standard English.
Yeah.
And because it's like, yeah, what you're saying makes a lot of sense if the objective is to convey a bunch of information as easily as possible so people understand it.
Yes.
If, on the other hand, your objective is to look like you're doing a bunch of stuff but not actually change anything, then so it's just like, it depends on what the actual objective of the document is.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, also I love I did love the line that Cameron highlighted, the implemented various initiatives to improve productivity by using AI. Ugh. Like, if you were applying for a job and one of the like things on the job was like, do you have an experience with AI? Mm-hmm. Like, that would be, that's such a like
resume line,
resume padding. Like, I have familiarity with Microsoft Office.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like, I wrote an email and the AI thing helped me make it a little nicer. That will be implemented various initiatives to improve productivity by utilizing AI.
I feel like that might even just be a cry for help from the person who wrote this, because they were like, I had to pad out my notes to like 25 slides. So I ran my notes through an AI to write this whole presentation.
This was one slide.
Yeah. It's just like, I just let the AI write this whole thing and I gave it back to you. And that's what we're doing now. So yeah.
Anyway, actually, speaking of sequels and stuff, just to quickly jump on to a story that we didn't talk about during the thing that I just thought was funny. Mm-hmm. So there's just this I guess it's one of these sort of random things that sometimes that just like comes up in an interview with somebody else. So there's an interview with Chance Glasgow, who is one of the founders of Infinity Ward.
Oh, okay.
Who is the people who originally made the Call of Duty games.
Yeah.
And then there were various buyouts and people left and things came, and there were Call of Duty is now made by like 4 different companies, depending on which iteration you're talking about. But anyway, they were the people, and he was like, and they were talking about, what do you think of the state? Because, like Final Fantasy, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 just came out a little while ago. So that's like the 6th edition of a spin-off of the Call of Duty series, right? Yeah. And so he's like, what do you think of the thing he's saying? He says, it's almost like The Simpsons, which is, you never want to hear your... It's almost like The Simpsons. It's been around so long and it feels like they've run out of ideas at times. It's kind of wandered into left field. He's like, I'm not saying that it peaked at Modern Warfare 2, which was when they were working on. Right. Saying, but that was probably the best game that we made at Infinity Ward.
Okay. Wow. So throwing some shade, but yeah.
But he's like, yeah. It's like, there's no arguing that the Call of Duty of today is massively different from prior things. There's Squid Game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover. There's, right. But I don't know. Have we talked? Is Fortnitification a thing? Is that a term yet?
Feels like it's gonna be a term.
Fortnitification, I think.
I think Fortnitification is probably the term, but yeah,
I remember. I think Penny Arcade did a comic about because there's friggin' Gundam in Call of Duty.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
But they're
SD Gundams.
Well, because they're skins.
Yeah.
So they just sort of have them side.
Oh.
And so people are like, or in the Penny Arcade cartoon, they're like, that doesn't seem fair that one team gets Gundams.
Yeah.
But of course they're just skins. So.
Yeah, they're just people. It's like, hang on, I'm about to go into combat. Let me put on my cosplay.
Anyway.
Though, I mean, I guess if you had a bunch of really like angry army furries running at you, that might be its own thing to be concerned about. It'd be quite a sight. Yeah, infantry furries. Yeah, the furry infantry. Seth Rogen's in Call of Duty. Fuck, not even a character Seth Rogen ever played. Just the character of Seth Rogen.
I mean, Snoop Dogg is in several.
Snoop Dogg, I kind of feel like it's I believe that is appropriate.
Again, the musician Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
With like a customized like pot gun. And
stuff. Right, yeah. Oh Jesus, it doesn't. God, I don't get why though, Paul. Because it's like maybe it is because they see the success of Fortnite and they're like, well then we should have that too. That's the only thing I can think. That's just like we should just have that too. I don't. Yeah, whatever.
And then sorry, hey, I got logged out.
Oh, I did it thing again. Oh, nice. Awesome. Everyone stand up and applaud.
Put your bingo card in.
It's funny because yesterday I was in the middle of doing something in Google and actually doing something, and all of a sudden it just logged me out immediately too. I'm like, great. So I got one also.
I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah.
It's not just Google hates me.
Yep.
And the coming up was that the Silent Hill soundtrack is available on 6 vinyl records.
The Silent Hill 2 soundtrack.
Silent Hill 2 remake soundtrack.
That's right. Yes. Just make it even longer.
Previous Silent Hill soundtracks have actually also been released on vinyl records.
Right.
They're very swank vinyl records.
Oh, they look really good.
They look really cool.
Yeah.
And also they're like, the like slightly creepy, record that like you play or like has like some secret message on it or something. I feel like is very in keeping with the Silent Hill aesthetic.
True. Yeah.
I think it's just. I'm assuming it's actually just the soundtrack of the game, but they should put a little some of that like backwards talking on it, just to mess with people.
Yeah, I really feel like if I went over to somebody's house and like, you want to listen to music? I'm like, sure, and they put the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack on. They're like took out the vinyl. Like we're like, okay, which one? I think I want number 3, and they put that on and they turned it on, and we sat there to listening to the ambient whatever of Silent Hill 2. I think I'd be like, I gotta go. I should have never came.
And that's when you hear like the dum, dum, the bell ringing, which signifies going into the horrible world.
I have never played the game. I have no idea what any of the things would be, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the you go into the world of Silent Hill and everything is horrible and like everything is like sort of, rusted, and there's all this like fog everywhere, and it's like, oh, this is terrible.
Right.
And then
Pyramid Head shows up.
No.
Okay.
Well, then the like you hear this like the ringing of the clock tower or whatever, and then you find out that the horrible Silent Hill world was actually the good version.
Oh, I see.
And then everything gets way, way, way worse.
I see. Okay.
The everything is creepy and covered in fog is the good one.
That's where you want to be.
The bad thing, then everything goes like dark and horrible blood everywhere. It's not good.
All right.
Anyway, do you miss GoldenEye 007 for N64?
I don't. Actually, I was always really bad at it. Sorry, Paul, but I do remember what it looked like.
Yeah. Well, if you're nostalgic for it, you definitely shouldn't check out Agent 07, The Revenge, or Agent 7, The Revenge. See, there's it's what appears to be not, I don't know what, it's not.
Would you call it an asset rip?
An asset flip or like something, apparently like the assets, and because of course GoldenEye is like a very, very heavily speed run game.
Yeah.
So people are like really familiar with the levels.
Oh yeah.
And the side-by-side comparisons are like very identical levels.
No kidding.
From the original GoldenEye.
So it's not you could call it a remake, but it's not a remake. It's God, what would you call something like that? But somebody made without permission, because this is made without permission, isn't it?
No, yeah. It was originally here's some examples of the dam.
Yeah.
It was originally apparently was actually under the name Agent 007 in the PSN store, and then they dropped one of the zeros, so now it's Agent 07.
Yeah, because you can't trademark numbers in the same way that you can trademark names, I think. Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. So it's just we did a rip-off game, except that we put in a lot of work to re-implement it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. I do like re-implementation. Colonel Jesus, I think that would be how I would refer to it. We re-implemented the game in a different engine with new stuff, but also we don't own any of this.
Also, apparently the guy it took like an hour to beat, so I don't think it's actually like the full game either.
Oh.
It's just like little stuff. It's also like 15. No, it's like $15 too. That's way too expensive for a rip-off game.
Yeah.
If you're gonna rip people off, at least do it cheap.
Absolutely, yeah. We're making it available for free, so you can call it a fan game, an homage, as King and Commoner points out.
Anyway, what else we got going on here? A couple stories that didn't make it into the episode. Speaking of N64 stuff, so they have found a sound from Super Mario 64,
right,
that no one has ever heard before.
Really? Okay. The
deal is that there is a sound. The sharks in Dire Docks.
Oh, I have heard about this. Yes.
Have a noise that they make as they go around.
Yeah.
But due to a bug in how the game does the clock for that noise, it gets cut off each time. So you only hear like a little bit of it, and then it starts it like
the timer
resets on it. So you never actually hear the whole noise.
Right.
Nobody has ever actually heard the noise. In fact, you can only hear the whole thing if you sit there in Dire Docks for let's see.
Is it 6 days? 6.5 years. I don't know. Let's find out. This will be fun.
60 weeks.
60 weeks. Okay.
60.8334 weeks, in fact. There's like a buffer overflow or something.
Yeah.
And it basically that causes it to basically miss one of its triggers.
Right. Which
means that the next one that plays gets to play the whole sound.
Right.
And it only does that once, because then now it's once every 60 weeks.
Right. Because it
plays it perfectly.
Because it's like, I have to play this sound, but the timer to play the sound resets before it gets to the end, and it goes back to play the same part of the sound again. So you basically just get this like loop in the middle, because the timer's telling it, go back and play this again, go back and play this again. And then, but what happens is if one of the bigger counters gets up to its maximum point, it has to stop. This is also apparently Dire Docks and a few other places that have like the constantly waving. Like in Mario 64, if you walk up to a painting, they wiggle a little bit. They
right.
Yeah. Yeah, so in Dire Dire Docks, there's like a portal that's constantly doing that. There's a few other ones in the game as well. And they're also, if you wait long enough, one of the timers in the game that's counting the number of milliseconds or frames or whatever it is, it fills up because it's a float, and it fills up eventually. And it's like, it's filled up. And that was the thing that was saying, this is how long you're going to keep wiggling for. And so the moment where it fills up and stops, the wiggling just stops. And you can move around, and the thing will kind of like change perspective a little bit as you move around, but the wiggling has now stopped. And it still functions, like you can still go through it. Kay Zemanuar does these great videos about the N64 and about Mario 64 in particular, an awful lot of them. And I think that's referring to, I think that article is probably based on that video.
Yeah.
And yeah, he plays back the sound effect, and I was on my computer and listening, or on my TV and listening to it, and I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna warn you. It's somewhat underwhelming.
Yeah, incredibly.
It's not worth waiting 14 months to hear.
And you'll ask, it's like, well, how did he do that? It's like, well, that's easy because he's running all this stuff through emulators, so he can actually he can change the number to be like, what happens if this thing actually tries to run over? So you can see what he's also let some of these things go on 6 days or 8 days or whatever on his actual N64, just to see what happens when it gets to the end. But yeah, fascinating amount of videos he's done on Mario 64.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
yes, is decadent and depraved,
is over.
Oh, is it? Oh, good. It's been going this entire time. I had May 17th in the pool, actually. So, Jesus.
Or shall I say, it's not actually. Importantly, it's not over. Mm-hmm. It's just not good. No additional massacres. Okay, look. There's a video game called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's an asymmetrical horror game, a little bit like
Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight,
right?
It got quite popular. It still is fairly popular. Mm-hmm. Made by a company called Gun Interactive, which is ironic, maybe. I don't know.
I guess.
But basically, they've said that the game is finished.
Okay.
The game is now, it has been fully realized. The Chainsaw Massacre has been fully realized.
Okay.
We are proud of the game we made, and we are happy that we're at the point where we feel the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has reached its full potential. Is the quote.
Just the more you say it. Oh, and it's so, like, with all the really terrible news coming out of the United States, it just feels like if you didn't know it was a video game, you'd be like, well, that fucking stands to reason, doesn't it? Of course there's people talking like this.
So saying the Texas Chainsaw Massacre will not be receiving any further content or support means there'll be no more DLC, balance updates, or bug fixes after our coming patch. They've got one more patch.
Okay.
But basically they're like, we're a small company, we want to do other stuff, and we can't do that while
maintaining
while we're sort of also trying to add new content to this thing.
That's fair.
And I respect, it happens less often with multiplayer games just because of the nature of the needing to update and stuff. But right. I respect that, the idea that it's that's the game.
Yeah,
we made it. It's good. We hope you enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's done.
Yeah,
you can play it all you want.
If you were waiting to get any more content, we have fixed everything that we're going to be able to fix on this thing.
Yeah.
Arrakis teaches the attitude of the knife. It cuts off and it says it's done here because that's it. That's all it is.
But yeah, so they want to. But yeah, they want to stress, and unlike a lot of things we've seen, it's like the game is not going to be delisted from digital stores. Mm-hmm. It's still playable. You can still get it. You can still buy it. You can still enjoy it. It's just they're saying, as a creative studio, it is imperative to communicate that we've seen this vision through to the natural creative end. We are a scrappy group of horror heads and artists continuously working to bring cinematic experiences to you all. We appreciate the folks who understand the vision we are bringing to the asymmetrical multiplayer horror space, because let's face it, it may not be for everyone.
Yeah.
But to those who get it, those who have widened their gaming circles to play Texas Chainsaw Massacre and who have reveled in the terror, horror, and beauty of this world with their friends, they keep us motivated and ready to continue what we do best, make your favorite horror games. You wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. So that's nice.
I like it.
Yeah.
I just think that the way they phrased a lot of the things in their press release is a little like...
that's why I marked it.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has come to its logical end point. Leatherface is like, it's like that scene in like Forrest Gump where he's like running the marathon and he just keeps running, and then at some point he just kind of stops.
Puts the chainsaw down. He's just kind of like...
Leatherface is just like, yeah, I think I'm done chainsawing now.
Yeah. And everyone else who's like running away was like, what are we supposed to do? God, oh, Jesus.
Anyway. Pal World news that isn't about lawsuits.
Oh, good.
I
love that stuff.
They're doing a collab with Terraria.
Are they giving the dirt guns?
They should.
Yeah, they should.
Which is, because of course they have long said, and people back this up, that like the base building part of
Pal World
is actually like the bigger part.
Right.
Like the Pokemon ish Pals thing is sort of only to
facilitate
the base building stuff.
Right.
So, but Terraria though is famously a two-dimensional game. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. This is all they've released so far, which is apparently this big eyeball guy is one of the big bosses in Terraria, along with the little bats are. Terraria is also like a pixel art kind of game.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It'll be interesting to see how that
the realization of Terraria
how that
stuff
manifests itself. Yeah. Tides of Terraria will be released this summer, and hopefully more info will be released up until then. But anyway.
Just wait to find out that Terraria ends up suing them. It's like, we didn't have an agreement. Be like, what are we doing?
That would be very weird.
Oh, Jesus.
So this is sort of good, sort of bad, or generally good news, but also annoying. Moon Studios, the developers of the Ori series, like Ori
Ori
and the Blind Forest.
Thank you.
And Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Yeah.
Is not in danger of shutting down.
Good. PSA.
The reason why, the less good part, is the reason why that had to be said. So Moon Studios has been putting on a new project called No Rest for the Wicked.
Okay.
Which is a departure from the Ori style things. I think it's a first-person shooter.
An ARPG of some sort.
Yeah, okay, it's a very different kind of game. Oh, Diablo-like. Okay, yeah.
Nice.
Right. It's a very different kind of game anyway than Ori, and apparently the latest update to it, when it first came out, because it's still sort of early access, but the latest update they put out, they changed a bunch of stuff and added some stuff that people didn't really like very much. They have subsequently done more patches to that update to improve things and stuff, but they were having problems with some like bad reviews.
Oh, okay.
Right. So because when you're in early access, you can still have on Steam, people can still post reviews of it. Okay. And rate the game and that kind of stuff. And they were they got some really bad reviews. Whether now the issue runs into that the head of the Moon Studios CEO, Thomas Mailer, went into the Blue Moon's like Discord and was like, please rate our game positively.
Oh,
It's entirely possible we won't be around in a couple of months to do anything more, simply because we got review bombed, which leads to people not buying the game.
right.
Which means that we're not making money and we'll have to shut down.
Right.
And so people are like, oh shit, it's that, like, you get, like, you guys are at that, like, that seems really bad.
Yeah.
If you're that close to the wire on this. And so, you know, they started to put out, you know, some articles and things started coming out being like, Moon Studios in trouble. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, no, actually, wait. He's like, actually, Moon Studios is fine. He did a post on X where he's like, I have no issue telling active players who love Wicked, No Rest for the Wicked, that they should go ahead and leave positive reviews on Steam. After all, it's allowed on Steam to buy a game, leave a negative review that doesn't even talk about the game at all, and then instantly refund it. And the negative review still counts.
Yes.
I don't think that's actually true. I think if you refund the game, I think Steam has
we can call it refund bombing.
anti-review bombing stuff.
Yeah.
In place.
So so if you're going to refund a game, you don't have to leave a negative review in order to refund the game. You can just literally say, I just want to refund this game.
Yeah.
Because I had it for less than the amount of time that I need. Anyone who's filing a negative review, you have to have owned the game in order to leave a review in the first place. So if you're one of those people who's like, I'm going to go buy the game so I can review it badly, so then I'll also get a refund as a result because I want to shit on this company for some reason.
Right.
Yeah, that's the worst part, obviously, but yeah.
So people were like, that's kind of weird that you would do that in Discord and stuff. And some people wrote articles about it being like, it's not that actually, you know, stuff.
Yeah.
And then the guys, people dug up some stuff from the guy's, his sort of social media, like
years and years ago kind of
well,
thing?
not even years and years ago.
Ooh, okay.
And also there's Thomas Mailer and also current social media stuff. And you know, he's saying, you know, so he just posted this little a week ago or something on it, you know, in response to sort of all this people saying that he was being disingenuous on the Discord trying to get this thing happening. He is saying, you know, he's sort of started hitting back about stuff, saying overall, pretty much anyone who's tried Wicked over the past few after the last hot fix is extremely positive. The reason why I left that post up on Discord was to push back against some of the bullshit reviews. I've been called hated on Twitter by crazies for years now, and I saw the calls for review bombing because according to those folks, I'm a Nazi. These folks, apparently anyone who doesn't include 5 trans characters in their game and doesn't let their products be influenced by political bullshit is a Nazi.
Go.
What a world we live in.
Here we go.
When the Russia-Ukrainian war broke out and I replied on Twitter saying Moon Studios wasn't taking a public stance, anyway, it goes on.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I really, really like the Ori games. And they are so like
sweet.
They're so sweet and so like emotional.
Yeah.
Like the first like 15 minutes of Ori, you're just like it's just this like really amazing, adorable encapsulation of you building this relationship with this sort of other character that's done completely without any
words,
any dialogue.
Yeah.
And just through amazing animation and sound stuff. And then and the idea that this guy is responsible for at least running the studio that made that game just confuses the hell out of me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean the thing, you know, like Nazis cuddle their own babies. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's not like, you know, I'm not gonna get into, because you all understand what humanity is like, right? We are multitudes.
Anyway,
So
basically everybody who likes, because from what I understand, this is No Rest for the Wicked is a great game.
sure,
People are really enjoying it.
if they're having a lot of fun, great.
And everybody who's enjoying the game are like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up and get a social media manager.
Yeah, you probably need a publicist, and you need someone to maybe also give you some sensitivity training a little bit, it sounds like, but...
Please shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the hardest things about working in a company that also has like public facing whatever is understanding how much you should say and how much you shouldn't say, obviously. So yeah, more people need to learn that. We need to be good at it too. But
in that transition, and it's something that we deal with here at Learning Ray Run on a much smaller scale, of course. But that transition between this is something I'm saying and this is something that the company is saying.
Yes.
And where that distinction lies, and that can be awkward sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway. Let's see. There's the more Switch 2 info. So Digital Foundry.
Yeah, I want to talk about this.
Digital Foundry apparently obtained a Switch 2 motherboard.
Great. They bought it from China directly, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did a whole analysis of stuff on it. And they their analysis suggests that the hardware was finalized 4 years ago. And that possibly, or one of the things that is being kicked around, obviously this is all rampant speculation.
Yes.
But one of the things that we kicked around is that the Switch 2 was actually possibly prepared to be announced sooner. And that circumstances in some, possibly, because of like the pandemic and surge in sales and things because of the, with the pandemic, Nintendo was like, let's just hold back for a little bit.
Yeah. Have this in our back pocket. Be ready to launch it when we know it's time.
And so, which is, and obviously the thing that the main takeaway that people have had from this is like, what? We're getting 4-year-old tech? Which is not really the
point.
Not really the point of the Switch. Like, that's the whole, Anyway, but yeah, and also, as Digital Foundry points out, the people who wrote this thing about it themselves say often, like, saying like this particular chip is was locked in like 4 years ago, doesn't mean that the rest of the thing was ready 4 years ago.
Yes,
that means, and often the silicon will be like the first thing that they lock in for because then that informs the rest of the design.
Yes.
What your thermal envelope is, what your power needs are, and all that kind of stuff. I
mean, if we draw a line between like when you're making a piece of hardware and then when the thing should actually, like, when it should be available, the thing that frustrates me is that when you're like, well, this thing, the motherboard was finalized in, and assuming then the system on a chip and everything, all that was finalized in 2021. Then you get people being like, well, we could have had it then in January 2022, and it's like, okay, no. Like, maybe yes, but actually no. And the reason is all the things that you mentioned, as well as the rest of the hardware design and how you actually solve those problems and how you integrate stuff and understanding it. Like, at certain points, it's like, is the design for pick the magnetic thing, for example, or even pick the mouse control thing for an example too. And it's like, at what point in the design document did they say we want to do that or not? Or did they say, well, we can afford to integrate that? Because this thing could have come out, sure. Switch 2, let's pretend it was all finished in 2021, and it would have cost you $1,000, and not $700 or $500 or whatever, right? Like,
what's great about this is that, of course, this ties into the constant rumors that I know Heather loves.
Yeah.
That that, you know, the constant rumors we had that the Switch Pro was going to be coming out.
Yeah.
And so people were like, aha!
Yeah.
This was going to be the Switch Pro. And they were deliberately withholding that thing where we all said that the Switch Pro was coming, and then it, with absolutely no evidence for that.
Yeah.
And then it didn't, and we were all disappointed. It was supposed to come, and they pulled it at the last second.
At the last second, yeah. And that's the thing, right? Is I'm like, you're working backwards because you think that the presence of this means that there was a Switch Pro. No. What's going on here is that if people had known about, oh, there's new hardware that's being tested that Nintendo was testing, it's like, well, that's going to be the Switch Pro. It's like, well, maybe yes, but actually no, because it's in this case, this thing is like, they were never developing a Switch Pro. They were developing their next generation hardware, which they were intending, obviously, to take some time on, especially thanks to the pandemic. They're probably like, we have to see this through, changing a lot of plans. Probably also being ready in case they were like, if this Switch thing like works out initially, but then actually takes a bit of a dive pretty fast, then we should have, like the Wii U, we should have something else ready to launch, because the Switch was available to be launched 4.5 years after the Wii U came out. So the fact that their next generation hardware, in this case, was like they could have hurried up, maybe they could have brought it to market 5 years after the launch of the Switch. It's like, that's a possibility because maybe they were playing it pretty safe. But to know that they didn't have to do that meant that you could hold on to that longer. But because you wanted a Switch Pro does not mean that that's what this thing was ever intended to be in the first place. It was probably intended to be the next gen hardware, and they're like, well, now we have made a thing. Now we need to get to a point where economies of scale allow us to make the thing comfortably at a better price, and then also be able to make all the components that go into it, because it is a very complicated device, obviously. And then even on top of that, we have to have dev kits in the field to develop for this thing too. So we can just put Switch games on it, but if you're waiting for the new Nintendo 3DS games that will play only on your new Nintendo 3DS, they did not have a lot of those when those came out. And I think that's probably because there wasn't a lot of pickup from people who wanted a dev kit to design a game that would only work on the new Nintendo 3DS. They were like, I want to target the whole 3DS market. We're going to keep making our normal 3DS games. There's only a few that came out that were required the new version. And I think that's the same thing here, is that they were like, well, we better make this a next-gen version as opposed to like this only runs on the Switch Pro, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's this like big psychological difference between this is where the Wii U ran into the problem, right?
Yeah, it feels like a mid-market.
Yeah, between what's perceived as like
mid-cycle refreshes.
Yeah, and like the PS5 and the PS5 Pro, everything that runs on the PS5 Pro also runs on PS5. Yeah. Might look a little crappier, but it runs.
Yeah,
whereas stuff that runs on there are going to be games that are Switch 2 games that don't run on the Switch.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the Switch 2 games won't run on the Switch.
Exactly.
But
you have that.
And there's that clean break there.
Yeah, and I imagine as they were going through development for this too, if there were things about, well, what about this mouse control thing? It's like, yeah, we can integrate that now. It's like, okay, well, now you've provided a new control scheme that means that a game designed to use that control scheme does not work on the Switch at all. It only works on this next generation thing. Hey, actually, this is next generation hardware. Hey, yeah, we should actually put it in as next gen hardware as the Switch 2, not the Switch Pro. Like, there's all sorts of reasons to think why this would have happened in this way. And I think it's really, I think it does a disservice to higher thought, to any sort of fucking thought in the first place, that you'd be like, well, that just means I can have this. It's like, no. We get back to this whole thing about, you got to talk about supply chain, you got to talk about development time, you got to talk about like the disbursement of dev kits and stuff like that. On top of that, it's like there's all these things that you have to control for and provide an ability for. And in every next generation of new hardware, those things always have to happen no matter what. It isn't like iOS. It isn't like Android, where Android has dozens of devices and they all have like a different whatever. And iOS is like the new phone. They're already 2 or 3 phones ahead in development. They know what the frickin' iPhone 19 is going to have in it and all they have is a skeleton for it.
They're keeping the iPhone 19 away from us.
Right? And it's like, no, they have a skeleton for it, and they're trying to manufacture and make it do a certain thing, and they'll have more to talk about when that comes out. But that's an iterative design, and it's like video game consoles are becoming part of an iterative design process, but they also have a long product window. They're not, I only exist for a year before the next version comes out. It's like they have to exist for at least 5 years, or else people will get mad that their $600 thing doesn't last as long as the last $500 thing that they bought. Whereas my $1,000 phone gets replaced the very next year, and people get upset if they can't buy another $1,000 phone that's slightly better. It's really weird, the position we're in with our temporary electronics.
I bet Tim Cook's got an iPhone 19.
He probably, has some sort of cool
probably has
thing.
like some sort of cool swank.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no. They don't let just anybody have this one.
If nothing else, Tim Cook actually probably understands the whole supply chain process even better, and is like, of course I don't have a fucking iPhone 19. Why would I have an iPhone 19? We haven't even made them yet. Anyway. Thank you for letting me have that rant, though. I love being able to rant on those things. And I think it's very cool that Digital Foundry found something, and I hope it was official and they were actually able to like work on it. So work on the real deal. So, yeah.
Now I want to say something that we're not good. There's more kerfuffle. Get to use that word again.
Like kerfuffle, yeah.
There's a whole other thing about the Fortnite iOS Epic Apple bullshit.
Yes.
That came out like yesterday. Frankly, given that what time it is in this stream, and I'm just not that interested in talking about it.
It's fair.
As stuff will happen, maybe it'll show up in next week's checkpoint, maybe not. Who knows? But we know that. I saw that is a story, but it's just more than I want to deal with right now.
It's basically just the story of, hey, Tim Sweeney said Fortnite would be in iOS by next week, and it's next week, and Fortnite isn't in iOS. So people are writing stories about that. Okay. That's a big issue.
So I was going to say on a lighter, this is not really on a lighter note, but it sort of is, because Hideo Kojima is kind of a weird guy.
Oh, yeah.
Hideo Kojima apparently got, like many of us, got a little freaked out during the pandemic.
Sure.
He was saying that I fell seriously ill during the pandemic, and I also had an eye operation.
Oh.
And he's saying until then I didn't really feel like I was old.
Yeah.
He's saying that I didn't feel like my age, but he's saying I became sick, and when I was sick I couldn't create anything, and I was kind of confronted with that thing that might happen at some point. And he's saying I recovered, but it kind of meant, it's like how many years left do I have to make games and films and these things? So he's decided to he gave a USB stick with all his ideas to his personal assistant. As like, I guess it's like a
32 gig, 128 gig.
Yeah, I don't know.
A lot of ideas.
As like, he's saying kind of like sort of like a will.
Oh,
that
okay,
he's saying, what will happen? He's saying, this is a fear to me. What will happen to Kojima Productions after I'm gone? I don't want to just be managing our existing IP.
Yeah.
So he's, who I love the idea that like it's like one of those things where like you look at like your sketchbook from like when you were in high school.
Yes.
Or things you're like, oh, look at all these cool superheroes that I made, or all these things. Like,
yeah.
Kojima, like he's saying, he's turned 60, but like, imagine that, say like 10 years, if he's still creating, hopefully, going back and looking at this USB stick and being like, oh, these are terrible ideas.
Because they're not the ones that have been like gone through lots of people looking at them and all giving feedback and helping him to kind of,
yeah.
Jesus. That'll be interesting, yeah.
I'm imagining like I don't know if we've talked about it before. We have like we have like a list of like, like crap shot ideas.
Yes.
Many of which are like unfilmable.
Yes.
And often not because they're like technically unfilmable, although often are, but also just like, this does not make any sense anymore. Yep. The person who put this idea in the list has forgotten why they put the idea in the list. And all they did was like 3 words, and now it makes no sense.
I really do like, because we used to manage a lot of that stuff like back when Google Wave was a thing. I know you guys used to do a lot of writing in Google Wave, and then like when we started using Trello for a while, and now we're using Asana, and it's like when things kind of get moved from place to place, you want to ensure that at least the attribution follows along with it. So you can be like, who wrote this idea? I need to ask them what they meant. And so you run into that with some ideas where you're like, I don't know who wrote this anymore, and I don't know who to ask. And maybe it was me.
Yeah, that's the like that. Not even in like our public thing, but there's I have my own notes.
Yeah.
That I'll be like, so like there's no chance that anybody else wrote this note.
Right.
This is a note that I definitely wrote.
Right.
And I still have no idea what it was talking about. But yeah, just so anyway, Death Stranding, of course. Death Stranding 2 coming out soon. Wishing all the best to Hideo Kojima. Many years of creative production left.
Yeah.
But yeah, this idea. I mean, I remember thinking about, we were talking about the iPhone and Apple and stuff, like thinking like after Steve Jobs passed away.
Yeah.
Like how long is it before like projects that he had directly supervised were no longer like that his I mean, obviously his impact continues on within the company, but the idea it's like stuff that he had like himself looked at and approved, because obviously, like you're saying, Apple works many years ahead.
Yes.
How long before that all actually got out?
Yeah.
And maybe it's still coming out. Maybe there's stuff that was a Steve project that we haven't seen yet.
And people were kind of like, well, we can make this at some, like, I mean, I think that Apple Vision Pro is one of the things where they're like, that's definitely was not a Steve Jobs joint, right?
Yeah.
They have also said the Apple Watch was the only product that Steve never actually got to see. Like he got to see the iPhone, the iPod Touch, and like all the other kind of things they were developing and whatnot. But it's like the watch is the one thing that, while he might have been around and said that would be an interesting idea, it was never something that like that you could say for sure that he didn't actually be like, oh, we could do this, but he never got to see this thing at all. And so that's the first piece of tech where it's like, this is like on Tim Cook's head, that it was like, if the Apple Watch didn't work, that was going to be a thing that everyone was going to be like, oh, Tim Cook sucks as a CEO. They would have been like, because they came with this idea and it didn't work. And it's like, no, it actually has worked very well. So yeah. Anyway,
I do. Yeah. As one of the ideas that Kojima has graced us with, is that he was thinking about a game mechanic where if you don't play the game for a while, your character in the game forgets
skills they had.
Forgets stuff that they could do.
Wow. Jesus. I hate that. But I have been in the situation where I've come back to a game and been like,
I've forgotten how to do
I forgot how to do the things, so I have to try to figure out how it works again, but yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that might have been. I feel like that's one of those game mechanics that might have been a result of some of that pandemic kind of thinking.
Oh, yeah, the brain fog of it
on Kojima's part. You know, it's what if we all just forgot how to do stuff?
And he's like, I forgot how to do stuff that I knew how to do, and I have to learn it again. And so now, what if I had a game character to do that? That would be great. Because then I wouldn't feel so bad that I'm the only one forgetting.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's all the stories that I wanted to talk about this week. Let's, if you enjoyed this, please support us over at Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. If you haven't seen the episode of ChillPoint that we were talking about, then you should go do that. It's over on YouTube, youtube.com/LRRVG. It's a video game channel. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't watched that episode, presumably it will be linked in your recommended next things somewhere beside.
Maybe part of your subscriptions.
In fact, that would be helpful. If you subscribed to the channel, then this whole circumstance wouldn't have happened. You would have been informed.
That's true, yeah.
And yes, now ChillPoint now with updated credits because, of course, Cameron and Nelson have been doing excellent work doing stuff. And in Cameron's case, actually delivering some of the stories, which I know a lot of people in the comments were very appreciative of.
And now that they have credits, now they can't get out of writing stories.
Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.